I like this first question. I don't think Bull cared for it much based on your comments in the phone call this morning. I thought it was creative. I don't know who came up with it.
Yeah.
Who is the most valuable non-quarterback in the NFL? I took this so seriously, I made a top 5.
Okay. My thought on this was just that. Like, people always want to say, well, Justin Jefferson should be in the MVP conversation. And the quarterback, no other position.
Yeah, but that's not what this is. That's
well,
what,
I hear you.
You're right. I mean, who moves the needle in the NFL? Quarterbacks, period. Now, there are some other guys. I think I've got a couple here that do. Maybe a half point or a point here or there on a line.
Yeah.
But, yeah, I don't want to confuse this with MVP talk because it's a quarterback league. For a non-quarterback to win the MVP.
When's the last time it happened? Was it
I can't even remember when it happened.
I think it was, yeah.
I was going to say, it's going to take someone to rush for 2,500 yards.
I don't think it's ever going to happen again because now we so know the value of quarterback.
Or a pass rusher could if they get, if someone gets to like 25 sacks.
I just still don't think that's as much anywhere near the impact that a great quarterback is having.
That's very fair.
But to answer the question, I would actually can't name a single player because I would say it's a great offensive line is the most valuable thing because ultimately protecting the quarterback because the quarterbacks are the most important player.
Yeah.
I think the offensive line, a great offensive line. So, whether it's a Joe Bitonio or something, like we think of the guys that get the sacks or catch the passes, but I actually think a great offensive line unit is the most important thing besides the quarterback in the league.
Jay, did you come up with any players?
Travis Kelce, off the top of my head, was the first one I thought of.
That was my slam dunk number 1.
Yeah, that's who I thought of.
I think, see if we're in line on the thinking. When I approached this, I said to me, it has to be one player who's head and shoulders better than everybody else at that
his position. Absolutely.
And that's him. He literally, to me, especially with some of the other top tight ends this year taking a step back, he is in a league all by himself. And then you think about that position. Belichick made that position famous again, really.
Yeah.
Because it was glorified blockers, might catch 2 or 3 balls a game. And then what Urban did at Florida kind of carried over to the college success. And then Belichick just repeated that. He had Gronk and Henderson, which is just mind-blowing.
Aaron Hernandez.
Or Hernandez.
Yeah.
I said Henderson, yeah.
Right.
Aaron Hernandez.
Before he was killing people.
Before he was a murderer.
Well,
actually, that was after he was a murderer.
Maybe he was already. Yeah, sorry.
Yeah, so that was the first name I thought of. I'm like, it's Travis Kelce because he is not, I think he's the best ever to play it. I think he's better than Gronk now.
You think he's better than Gonzalez and Gronk?
I do. I think he is. And because there's such an ocean between Travis and all the other tight ends.
I don't think there's that big an ocean. I know Mark Andrews didn't have a big year.
He didn't.
But he was hurt, and Lamar Jackson was hurt.
Right.
And one guy's playing with Patrick Mahomes. If Mark Andrews is healthy and playing with Patrick Mahomes, I think he puts up as good a numbers as Kelce.
1,300 yards.
I hear you, and I do think Kelce may be the greatest tight end of all time. In fairness, these last bunch of years he's played with maybe the guy who's going to be the greatest quarterback of all time.
Well, Gronkowski played with the greatest
Tony
quarterback.
Gonzalez didn't, though.
No, Tony had. Who did he
play with? Matt Ryan. He played with Matt.
Trent Green for half his career. That's crazy.
Yeah.
Elvis Gerbach. Did he have Gerbach?
Yep, he might have had him too.
I said Kelce because they trade Tyreek Hill and they go back to the Super Bowl. Like, that's remarkable. They're not in the Super Bowl without Travis Kelce. They're not still playing.
Yeah, I agree with that.
You guys are missing the point, man. Y'all missed it. Y'all had an opportunity. I let y'all talk.
Who you got?
What do you got?
How do you not have Jamar Chase right here, bro? Jamar Chase, overall, receiver is the next best position. Let me tell you why. You look at what Tua did, right? Tua was a nondescript person. They got him Jalen Waddle. They got him Tyreek Hill, playoffs. You look at what happened to Josh Allen. He wasn't really doing nothing his first couple years. Stephon Diggs, boom. They right off into the sunset. You just talked about Travis Kelce. I count him as a receiver. He's more of a receiver. He ain't blocking nobody. For me, it's the receiver position. The receiver position has now been elevated because if you look at a really great receiver with one of the best positions or the most important position as quarterback, you can't do nothing about it.
Yeah, but he doesn't even your eyes can tell you he's the best receiver, but he doesn't even. Where is he in receiving yards leaders?
Well, he
Travis
missed a few games.
I know he did. No, I'm looking at Travis Kelce. Travis Kelce, 1,338 yards. The next closest guy, 914 yards. Receptions, he had 20 4 more receptions than the next closest guy and double the touchdowns than the number 2 guy was Kittle.
Well, see, this is.
Are you talking
11.
just tight ends?
You talking
Yeah,
tight
but
ends.
now I'm saying so.
I think you
he's
got to
saying
compare them to
Chase.
receivers.
Well,
almost.
was Jamar
Like,
Chase?
I think I had Justin Jefferson and Tyreek Hill on my list, but I did not have Jamar Chase in my top 5.
I mean, I think those guys are the same ilk.
They are not the same.
What are they statistically?
Well, okay. So Kelce was 8th this season in all players.
Receiving yards.
Receiving yards.
Yeah, no,
13.
I'm talking about just receivers. Where does Chase come in? And I know he missed at least 2 games.
So
No,
he,
like
he,
four
missed,
games.
he only played
4?
in 12 games.
Okay, well, that's
Missed-
part of it.
Missed
That's
5.
got to be part of it.
Yeah.
And he had 1,046 receiving yards, which is 16th. Of the players who played 12 games, everyone above him on that list played at least 16. So in yards per game average, to sort it out in average, Chase finished 6th overall in
Yeah.
yards per game average.
So I don't even have him as the best receiver.
The difference.
Well, but you can't just judge it based
No,
solely
I know,
on
but-
statistics.
The difference between Jamar Chase and them other dudes is this: if he catch the football, he can go to the house today.
So
right
can
now.
Hill. So can Tyreek Hill.
No. Well, Tyreek Hill can do the same thing. I got
Right.
those guys as 1 and 2. I got those guys flip flop because here's the thing: as a defender, they tell you as a coach, make them take another snap. If Travis Kelce want to get 110 catches, great. But I've seen what Jamar Chase can do in a slant, a regular little pass, and he's gone to the house. For me, when you look at it, and the original question was, which position group do you think is better, or
Yeah.
position group is the most valuable pass quarterback?
No, I thought it was players.
Specific player. Hey,
I said who, yeah.
I think
Yeah,
Jefferson,
players.
Chase, and Hill are all neck and neck in terms of the best receiver in football.
And I agree with that. Like, they're
But-
all great players,
and I
but
would
they're
take
somewhat
Chase,
interchangeable.
I'm a little biased, but I would take Chase.
I think
to
the
me the
reason
difference
we went
between
with
Chase and
Kelce-
Hill is because Chase can also use his size,
Yeah.
where Hill doesn't have that.
Right, I agree with that. But
Yeah.
to me, they're kind of interchangeable.
Yeah,
where
yeah,
with
sure.
Kelce, there's not another guy
one of
that's going to
one.
give you the production.
I don't
that he
agree.
gives
I
you.
think Mark Andrews is just as good.
I disagree.
I don't. I don't at all.
He's bigger, faster, stronger. Kelsey's
Yeah.
bigger, faster,
But
stronger.
you can take a tight end out the game if you really wanted to.
And they haven't been able
Nobody's
to do
been
it
able
yet.
to do it, though.
I saw
Got
it.
110 catches.
I'm watching the playoff. If you watch them, you can say, all right, well, we're going to just double him. What they haven't been able to do because he has Patrick Mahomes. Patrick Mahomes can throw to anybody. Patrick Mahomes can throw to Valdez-Scantling. He can throw to running backs.
That's true. I mean, he is valuable as he is because he's got a quarterback
Right.
that
Yes.
knows. And the nonverbal that those two have going, too, I don't know how you weigh that into the equation. Like, would he be as good
yeah.
if he played for another team? No, he wouldn't.
No.
But in his situation, I just think if the question was this, we're going to have a draft right now, and you can take any player first, but it's not a quarterback.
I think we all
I'm
are.
taking
Travis Kelce
Kelce.
wouldn't go first.
No, we'd all take defensive ends.
Who would you take?
You would take Travis Kelce over
Nope.
Chase Jefferson and
One-
Tyreek Hill?
Yes.
Not
For
a
1
million
year.
years.
Because if I don't get Hill or Jefferson, there's other guys at that position that can change my life.
In real life, you saying that if you say you can have one person and it ain't a
No,
quarterback.
I don't think any team in the NFL would take Travis Kelce
Who you
over those
taking,
top
Jace?
3 receivers.
I would.
I'm trying to equate this to fantasy football.
But it's
and
not
try-
fantasy
not-
football.
No, it's not fantasy football and doesn't.
And
it
that's
does-
in fantasy football. I understand the Kelce argument because there's a bigger drop off. But
Well, but again, it's availability. So if you don't get Hill or you don't get a top name wide receiver, there are so many other guys.
there
that
aren't
good.
a lot of guys that do
Chase-
what those top guys do.
Chase finished 16th.
But he
in
missed
receiving
5
yards.
games.
I know he did, but that's got to be weighed into it also.
I just don't think anybody here is taking a receiver with the second overall pick.
Well, first of all, if you're starting a team, you're factoring in age. There's not a team in the NFL that would take Travis Kelce over any of those 3 receivers. Not one.
I
if they had a
would.
choice.
I would.
You wouldn't take him over a defensive end. If you
I mean,
had,
Travis Kelce isn't that old. He's not 30.
Yes, he
Yeah,
is.
he's 33.
Ooh, is he 33?
yeah.
There's not a team
But-
in the NFL that would take Kelce.
But real quick,
I would.
Can I
I
add
would take
one
him because he
stat?
just does something no one else does.
Can I add one thing into this conversation?
Sure.
All-time postseason ranks: receptions, reception yards, and reception touchdowns. Kelce ranks second in all 3. Not just tight ends.
Yeah,
That
all
is
But he
that-
every-
probably
everybody
won't
that
catch
ever
Jerry
played.
Rice, I'm
Now
guessing.
he's
is
played a
first.
lot more games, you
He
know.
can catch Jerry Rice
than a lot of
in-
other guys.
Catches.
In catches, that's it. The other two,
he's not catching
big
him in
gap. But
touchdowns.
that's over
Listen,
every other
nobody's
receiver
debating that
to
Travis
ever play.
Kelce's not great.
It's great. We're saying,
But he's not a better football.
And I think he's all-time great. I don't know that any of these other receivers are all-time. They're not. None of those other receivers are
Well, they
all-time.
are through the early point of their career. What do you mean they're
Well,
not?
they're going to be better than Jerry Rice? Any of these guys?
oh no,
I don't know if they can be better than Jerry Rice.
No.
But
Okay, well, I'm saying greatest of all. I think that when Travis Kelce retires, I think
yeah,
you
but
could
the
probably
bar
make
for
that
the
argument
greatest
right
tight
now.
end of all time is lower than the bar for the greatest wide receiver of all time.
but
all
nobody-
the people that have played that
but-
I
position.
know, but there's more great athletes playing wide receiver than tight end.
Nobody
Not
would
comparing
take
the
a tight
two.
end. Nobody, everybody. If you said you can't take a quarterback, who you taking?
Nobody's
Everybody
taking
would
a
say
tight end.
Michael Parsons.
Yeah.
Everybody would say Myles Garrett,
Who was the best player that Tom Brady played with in his career, for the stretch of his career?
Randy Moss.
Gronk.
I think it's Gronk.
You mean
Randy
the stretch
Moss.
or one
No,
individually?
Yes, Moss. That was what, 1 year,
He
2 years?
had just a cup of coffee with Moss. And they rewrote the offensive record book. But to me, I don't think it was any accident that they teamed up with another squad and won another Super Bowl together. I just think that position can be so impactful when the player is head and shoulders the best at that position.
Yeah, but in the end, Jefferson, Hill, and Chase are all better football players than Travis Kelce.
Hill has
They're
one
more
Super
impact.
Bowl.
They're
The others
all- You
don't.
can't.
I know they're young. I have two.
Kelsey's only got one Super
I
Bowl,
have Nick
too.
Bosa in my top 5.
I keep trying to tell y'all. Every
pass rusher.
second player, if we had to go down the line, would be a pass rusher.
After
you
we-
can either say Bosa.
I don't even think Travis Kelce would be a first-round pick if they were starting. If you start him, or if he would, he'd be a late first-round pick.
Yeah.
But
He'd be mine wherever I was.
but
wherever I
Aaron
slotted.
before this year was Aaron Donald no-brainer.
Absolutely.
Because the gap before this past season, the gap between Aaron Donald and any other defensive tackle was
He was
massive.
Travis Kelce. He was the Travis Kelce
Yes,
of defensive
massive.
ends or tackles.
I think Micah Parsons, if you were
Micah's my fifth.
if you were drafting if the NFL was drafting from scratch and you didn't factor in contract, you factored in age
Yeah.
and whatever, Micah Parsons would be the first pick, I think.
I have Kelce, Jefferson, Hill, Bosa, Parsons. And then the part of this question was, where would you slot Myles Garrett? I have him 10 to 15. I don't even have him in my 6 through 10.
I think if you polled every GM, Myles Garrett is in the top 5. Every GM, they're taking him top 5.
I don't know top 5. I think he's in the top 10.
I think every team in the NFL, except for maybe the Chiefs, would take Myles Garrett over Travis Kelce if they could take one.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, God.
Without a
I
doubt.
wouldn't even think about it. I wouldn't have to think about that.
I think sometimes in Cleveland, we get it twisted. Like, we get it messed up. Myles Garrett gets 16, 15 sacks a year.
With no help.
With nobody else on that other side. We have not seen anybody in the history of our team even remotely come close to that. We want somebody to get 9 sacks. We clapped it up for Clowney at 9.
But, it can't be just about gathering numbers. It has to be impact on the game. Ultimately, that's what you're measuring here. Because what good does it do to have a 1,500-yard back if you don't
One player
win?
can't control impact on winning that
No,
much.
but at that
Especially in
position,
football.
And that's why-
at that
and-
position, we
yeah.
did the TJ Watt thing where we talked about what the Steelers were with TJ Watt and what the Steelers were without. As much as I'd love to sit here and say, yeah, you're right, Myles Garrett is that dude for the Browns, he gathers numbers. There's no question about it. He gathers numbers. But there's too many times that he's just absent, just disappears.
And the same thing happens with every other pass rusher, otherwise they'd have 50 sacks.
Maybe it was just when I was watching them, but when I was watching the Cowboys this year, it seemed like every time they were in a spot where they had to have a play made, Micah Parsons made it, like Aaron Donald did in the Super Bowl against the Bengals.
By the way, Myles Garrett is rated higher than T.J. Watt and Micah Parsons on PFF.
Well, PFF and a nickel won't get you much these days.
But what else do you use to determine?
So he got the numbers.
My eyes. I just use my
So
eyes.
an eye test,
Eye
when you're
test.
not watching every game, is better than PFF?
Well, no, I don't watch every game, every snap of every game, but I
Yeah.
do watch Myles Garrett on every
I know,
play.
but you're not watching
And then
these
I
other
watch
guys.
a lot of other football. And to me, when I turn on the Steelers,
Yeah.
I know that, first of all, I think it was Bosa had the most the quarterback hurry is kind of a funny stat. I don't know how much you want to put into that either. He led the NFL by, I think, a decent amount in quarterback hurries, which
He plays on a dominant front.
These other guys play with better players around them.
Yeah, like
they do, but
If Travis Kelce were on the Falcons, he'd be A good tight end.
You got Michael Parsons,
special.
right?
He'd be more
You
than
got
that.
Michael Parsons. You got DeMarcus
You think
Lawrence.
Travis Kelce would be special playing with Marcus
Not
Mariota?
the player he is now. No, I even said that before. You take
Right.
him off the Chiefs, he's not the same guy.
See, that's the difference.
But to me,
that's the difference, Jay. Tyreek Hill, Justin Jefferson, Jamar Chase are great with anybody. Anybody. Don't matter.
yeah,
They're putting up,
Travis
Travis Kelce's
Kelce's going to be great with anybody, period.
But Travis Kelce's not as good as those guys.
and
I mean,
Chase wouldn't be as good without Joe Burrow. I mean, that goes both ways.
he wouldn't be as good, but he'd still be real. Josh Gordon with no quarterback
That's
before he threw away his
16.
career. Put up huge numbers.
He's not part of this discussion right
But that's
now.
the point. Like, I don't know. These guys are just if you're drafting a team from scratch, not including quarterback,
Yes.
in the NFL,
Yeah.
especially with Travis Kelce's age, he's just not going to go that high.
Well, at 33, yeah, he probably
I love
wouldn't be the
Travis
first
Kelce.
pick.
I hate to
But
be arguing
for
against him, but
me,
you're way
as-
overrating him in my opinion.
As the difference maker,
Yeah.
like when I watch football games, because there was
The
a stretch
difference
when
maker on the
Kansas
Chiefs
City
is Mahomes.
couldn't do
That's it.
anything against Cincinnati.
Yeah.
And as I was watching it, I said, well, this is the part of the game where he starts forcing the ball to Kelce. And they did, and it worked. It's almost like that's their ace in the hole. When I have to get the first down, when I have to get the touchdown,
And watch this.
they throw it to him, and it works.
This is that, and that's why I like to get my best player to football. That's why 1,500 ain't enough. If I'm in a
on that argument,
if I'm
yeah.
in a crunch, all these players, right? I think sometimes, and this is the problem with the Browns. Sometimes when you see these players, those teams sell out. They hit you. They beat you over the head. When they need to play, Jamar Chase need to play. They're gonna run a double go.
They know where
throw
to
it
go
up
with
there,
the
and
ball.
guess what? We got them. For me, I think one of the things I will say this about Myles Garrett, which is I think a little bit of an indictment on Myles Garrett as well as the Browns, is when you watch the other teams, right? I think they spot shadow. They really do a lot to make sure that person is a focal part of what they're doing in that game. And sometimes Myles Garrett isn't there, and sometimes he doesn't show in the run. But when you watch these other teams, they gonna use them to the nth degree.
Right.
They out there on this down. They got a special package for them.
the bottom line is all these other great pass rushers play with other great players.
yes, they do.
Did you figure that? But
Myles
by the way,
Garrett
all
does
these
not.
other great pass rushers are doubled too. When I watch
Not as
TJ
much as
Watt,
Myles
TJ
Garrett.
Watt gets his ass doubled
Not
all
as
the time.
much as
Not as
Myles
much as
Garrett.
So does Mike.
But not as much as Myles Garrett.
This past season, no. But in years past,
No, last year Myles Garrett was number one also.
Myles Garrett.
Yeah, but Clowney had 9.5 sacks last year. Defenses weren't just ignoring him.
Well,
But Myles Garrett has been since he come in the league, he's been double teamed more than any player in football.
as well.
I don't know if there's a metric for that.
And
but
there
yeah,
is. There is. And
Since
by
he
the
came
way,
in the league, we can go back to that point.
Can you imagine T.J. Watt playing
Yeah.
with
Because a lot of double teams
Hayward?
can't even be recognized.
I mean, Hayward is dominant in the middle, right?
Yeah.
Like, you got that at T.J. Watt. DeMarcus Lawrence is another edge rusher with Michael Parsons.
Really good player.
Like, you got Tommy Togiai.
The 49ers have great players all over the place.
Armstead is a monster.
Yeah.
Like, so you got to look at it from a standpoint. Those guys are getting help.
Myles Garrett Jadeveon Clowney got sacks last year because Myles Garrett was getting double and triple teamed.
2 years ago. I said last
2
year.
years
2
ago.
years ago. 9.5, 2
Yeah.
years ago. 2 or 2.5 this past year.
According to NFL Next Gen Stats, it goes back to 2019, so not
Okay.
since he became.
Yeah,
in.
because Okay.
He is the most double-teamed edge rusher in football by a pretty significant margin.
Exactly.
Well, how many snaps percentage does it?
Well, it does it by rate, not by snaps. 'Cause
Okay.
Not everyone plays the same snaps. But he is.
Did you do a list? Because you asked this question, so I figured you
I-
probably would have done a list.
I put my 10 guys I thought could be on there. I would draft.
But wait a
a
second,
pass.
before you
Give me that rate.
answer that,
Give me that
what's the
rate.
percentage that Myles Garrett gets double teamed?
well, he said it's not a percentage; it's a
not
rate.
Yeah,
What does
it's
that mean, a rate?
Okay, so give me whatever the number it is.
So this is from Seth Walder of ESPN/Analytics/NFL Next Gen Stats. Since 2019, Myles Garrett has a 30% pass rush win rate, and he's double teamed about 34.5% of the time.
What's the
Okay.
next
I would
player?
have thought it would be higher than that.
And
What's
You
then-
guys ready for
guy?
who's next?
Yeah.
And this is why I'm not sure it's exact because snaps matter. Jerry Hughes is second. He's double teamed 29.5% of the time.
the next guy
We can throw that stat right
is
out the window.
5% less.
If Jerry Hughes,
And he wins all the time.
so I'll throw that.
And Jerry
stat out.
Hughes had a 91% rate. And then Micah Parsons, who is a much smaller sample size, and he's highlighted as an outlier because he's played 2 seasons as opposed to the
And
4.
I think he developed so much from season 1 to season 2. Like, he was a good player in season 1. In season 2, he's the guy you better know where he is on the field.
What percentage is his? Does he get double teamed?
So once again, this is smaller, but he's 27%.
Okay, so 7% less.
If
That's
it's
huge.
a percentage rate, which we don't even know.
Well, it
is.
It is
else
a
would it be?
percentage rate. It's just it's capped, if that makes sense.
And that's really not that huge of a difference. That's a couple plays a game.
7%?
It's a couple plays a game. That's it.
I keep telling y'all, man. Look, when I go back and watch all 22, I'm at the Panthers game, right? And the reason I started going back to watch these whole entire games was I wanted to see if Jadeveon Clowney was right. Are they putting him in situations where it's not advantageous and let Myles Garrett get off clean? I go back and watch the tape. Myles Garrett, the first 2 or 3 quarters, is getting triple teamed. Jadeveon Clowney is getting locked up on one-on-ones. And I'm like,
Because he's just a guy.
I'm like, okay, you're getting locked up right now.
I hope Clowney was right because they should be putting Myles
Of
Garrett in the
course.
most advantageous
Just to your
position.
point, he's your best player.
Yeah.
You want to highlight him. You just need the other guys on the line to step up and give you something, and they didn't.
Nothing.
They gave us absolutely nothing, which is why our pass rush was.
If there is one
Didn't scare anybody.
If there's one legitimate gripe about Myles Garrett,
Okay.
and this cannot be
Give your list.
denied. This cannot be denied. It's the fact that he does not. You want him to flash more in the run. It's for a big, strong, fast, technical. You want him to have tackles for loss. You want him to have hits in the backfield. You want him to be more disruptive, and he'll probably tell you, I'm not seeing that level.
And that's what
we
we've
get
talked
there.
about. But still, it's a huge factor that he's got no talent around him compared to these other guys.
To your point, if it is a 50-50 split run and pass, I just need my most impactful defensive player to be impactful all the time when he's on the field. And when it's a run play, he's not interested.
That's fair.
He's just not. And and it is fair. Some guys can do both well. Can pass rush and stop the run. And those are the guys that bring max value at that position because you don't have to take them off the field. You can hope that they step up and make a big play, even if it is a run play.
That's why-
and you're not just rushing past the ball carrier.
That's why, to me, Reggie White, people say Lawrence
my
Taylor
God.
all the time. To me, Reggie White is always consistently in that area because he's 315 pounds. He's stopping the run. He's strong enough to play at 3 technique. He's fast enough to play on the edge, and he's disruptive. That's why he's in that mix. That's why when Aaron Donald was at the top of his game,
he resembled that.
couldn't do nothing with him. Couldn't do nothing.
McNuggets, what was yours?
So 2 things real quick, and we'll move on.
Okay.
I'll tell you my list, but do you remember we did this kind of with TJ Watt a
Yeah.
while ago?
Yep.
And I said they were 1-10 without Watt, and Bull said we need the context without Cam Hayward.
Yeah.
I just stumbled upon that stat. They're 8-3 without Cam Hayward.
Yeah,
So-
someone sent that to me. Someone sent, like, when we were in the moment when we were doing that discussion.
I didn't know that.
Yeah,
So they were
someone
8-3.
had tweeted me the record without Cam.
My list.
I
if
don't
was
even
doing
fear
it-
there. I don't fear the Steelers at all when TJ's not on the field. I just don't.
If I was to do this, I actually agree with G. Bush. I think defensive ends would be the first guys I'd pick, and it would be Parsons, Bosa. I'm not sure.
Would you take Parsons over Bosa or no particular order? Because I thought about that too. I eventually, after tight end, wide receiver, I went Bosa and Parsons.
Bosa had a slightly better season. He's going to win Defensive Player of the Year.
I think so.
I think Parsons a little younger, maybe a little more versatile because he can play that hybrid linebacker. But, I mean, you're asking me to pick 2 unbelievable options.
No, I
Myles
know.
Garrett's in that conversation, as is TJ Watt.
And to Bull's point, if we did this last year, it would be Aaron Donald. We wouldn't have to think about it.
You want to think about it, exactly. So it changes, and it may change next year. If we are taking receivers, though, I'd take Justin Jefferson over both Hill and Jamar Chase. But that's just
Jefferson was
personal
number
preference.
2 on my list,
Just personal preference.
and then Tyreek Hill.
So
I want players that can do things that not everybody at that position can do.
And I beg to watch this. If it was a year ago, I think Cooper Kupp is in that position.
Sure.
Like you got to think about it like this. Cooper Kupp is like, come on, man. He had like 1,800 yards and
We're all totally ignoring the offensive line, which is extremely important.
Trent
Yeah,
Williams
because
was
I
a
was
5 on
looking
my
at it
list, by the way.
as a player. 'cause
Yeah.
He said top 5 players.
Well, Trent
Now,
Williams
if you're
was
going to
number
go
5.
unit,
Yeah.
give me the defensive line.
you had Trent Williams at 5.
Yeah, if you go, Steve, pull back 128. I don't know. When I was just putting together offense and defensive players, I actually had Lane Johnson and Trent Williams as 2 guys on the list when I was making it. And I did put Cooper Kupp. You could have picked any of those receivers, Hill,
Sure.
Justin Jefferson, Jamar Chase. But I do agree with the offensive line being probably the most crucial unit outside of a quarterback.
Well,
so.
at the point of attack is where you win. So, I mean, from that standpoint, the defensive line, the offensive line, if you're great there, you have a really good chance at winning.
Hey, you know what the funny thing is? We be making it. If you go on our statistics and categories, if you just blindly was like, oh, you listen to the rules of what we just said, you got to have an offensive line.
Yeah.
Well, the Browns got a line. Well, you like, hey, you got to have somebody who's a star and that can get you a playmaker. You're like, well, we got a run back. He's 1,500 yards. They be like, hey, you know what? You got to have a pass rusher. Well, the Browns got a pass rusher. Well, why don't we, like, if you look at it on face value, you look at it and be like, the Browns are supposed to be cold. The Browns are supposed to be.
They got nothing else in the front seven on defense.
Yeah,
and they don't have the superstar wide receiver. We're talking about Cooper's a good wide receiver, but they don't have the superstar.
They got a receiver.
Yeah.
It's just when you build these teams or whatever, it's not like the Browns are devoid of like different pieces that you build your house with. They got some good stuff. They just need to fill in these other parts.
I do think I think I'll speak for myself. I overrated the Browns' talent going into last year. I believe. Because I got caught up in the star power and ignored the fact that they do not have nearly enough second and third tier players. And that's something they must work on this offseason. And a lot of that's because they've missed on a lot of their draft picks. They
haven't gotten enough out of their picks, for sure.
Especially in the front seven. It's been a major failure.
And when you look at what the Bengals have done in the draft, and the Bengals, the Eagles, the Chiefs, these are teams that have depth throughout there. The Niners.
Yeah.
Zach Jackson's made that point multiple times. My partner at The Athletic, he said these good teams have waves of defensive linemen that they can just roll in and roll in and roll in, and the Browns do not.
Did he get to a conclusion like they don't because the drafts?
Well, yeah, I think it's all the reasons. Like, I've said it multiple times. They've actually tried to address defensive tackle multiple times. They keep picking the wrong guys.
Yeah, that's right.
They're either picking the wrong guys or not develop them. Like, that's it.
So do you think there's talk in the organization of, okay, so there might be certain positions that you're just better off going free agent than instead of the draft? And I think that might be a perfect example.
But the tricky part for the Browns is they're so top-heavy financially that it's not like you could throw a ton of money on the defensive line now because you're already spending on a lot of high-end players. If they don't start getting it right. Now, it's not that they haven't gotten it right at all. That Martin Emerson was a great pick last year.
No, but we're talking specifically up front.
Right.
They've missed on everybody they've taken up front.
And they should spend on at least one defensive line.
Just give me average.
Yeah.
Right.
I'll take average.
Because I think the Bengals
bring
have
back
some
Larry
average guys mixed
Ogunjobi
in there.
and give me average.
Yeah, average will win you some games.
They are so far below average right now, particularly up the middle at defensive tackle.
Right.
That's the biggest wound on the team.
The Bengals defensive line, they have DJ Reader. He's borderline elite as a defensive tackle. TJ Hendrickson, very good pass rusher. Not elite, but very good. And then Sam Hubbard and BJ Hill are just solid. They're good. They're solid players. They're not spectacular, but they're not scrubs.
But
they're solid players.
Where they're supposed to be.
And their depth. You look at this Joseph Osai, who obviously had the break, but he's come along as it's his second year in the league, and he's now a good third end.
But we're supposed to pivot to the Cavs. I want to ask you, my boy James Rapine said the Browns might be in the interest for Jesse Bates. I don't watch Jesse Bates all the time. On paper, he looked like he better than John Johnson. Is Jesse Bates a good ball player, great ball player, or is he somebody in between?
I think Jesse Bates is a very good safety. He's not an elite safety, but he's in that next level.
Okay.
Like he's like a borderline Pro Bowl safety. Like he's really good. He's probably, a top 10 safety in the league, but not – I wouldn't spend – to me – unless I'm getting like a Troy Polamalu or the best of the best, I'm not spending big money on a safety. So I actually don't think the Browns should go down that road.
Okay.
He's good, and it would be he's an upgrade over John Johnson.
Do we know what's going on with their defensive coordinator?
He's one of the two finalists for the Cardinals job.
He and who else?
And
Mike Kafka, the Giants offensive coordinator.
I'm hoping they don't lose. Oh my God.
I am.
Man,
hey,
I know who I'm taking in that one.
Hey, Lou, man, listen, it's real
We'll
nice
sweeten
out
the pot
in
here in
Arizona.
Cleveland.
Man, look, bro,
We'll throw in some money.
I'll help you move out there, dog.
Yeah.
Yeah, I want him out of the division now.
I actually think a guy the Browns should go after if the Bengals don't re-sign him is not Jesse Bates, but is one of their linebackers, Jermaine Pratt. He was really good.
He brought
this
his
year.
name up one other time.
Yeah, I think he'd be a great fit for the Browns. He'd be their best linebacker, easy. And he plays with some nastiness.
Well, we need that.
They need that.